It was a total emotional roller coaster, man.
That's when she told me she had an identical twin sister. Relax, man.
Guys, I need you on stage right now.
Right, guys, only 1 minute.
Nice.
Guitar Hero and Rock Band were two of the most popular gaming franchises of the early 2000s, releasing over 30 games in 5 years between the two series. But it would seem the music rhythm spark burned out just as quickly as it rose to prominence, becoming a bygone era of gaming. In this video, I will talk about exactly what went wrong with the Guitar Hero and Rock Band franchises, how overambition, bad timing, and new technology would ultimately lead to the downfall of these once popular trends. Debuting in 2005 on the PlayStation 2, Guitar Hero was a music rhythm game created out of a partnership between electronic entertainment company Red Octane and a music game developer called Harmonix. The two companies wanted to release a new version of the Japanese rhythm series Guitar Freaks for a Western audience. This project ultimately resulted in what we know today as Guitar Hero. The gameplay utilized a guitar peripheral in order to create a sense of immersion for the player. The first game was released by Activision and was a pretty instant hit. Then in 2006, shortly after the completion of Guitar Hero 2, Red Octane was purchased by Activision along with the rights to the Guitar Hero IP. Harmonix was then purchased by MTV and Viacom. Since they no longer had the rights to make more Guitar Hero games, the Harmonix team began work on another music rhythm game, this time utilizing a whole set of peripherals such as guitars, drums, and piano. The new series was called Rock Band, and quickly began to overtake Guitar Hero in popularity, mainly due to the co-op experiences players could have rocking out with their friends and family. Both series went on strong for several years, putting out numerous titles, many of which highlighting famous musicians such as AC/DC, The Beatles, and Aerosmith. Activision even launched a spin-off game known as DJ Hero, which traded your normal guitar or drum set for a turntable peripheral. It seemed like this new thing was never going to end, and people would be happily riding high on Guitar Hero and Rock Band forever. Then the recession happened, and everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. By 2008, Activision and Viacom noticed significant losses in their recent releases, namely DJ Hero and Rock Band Beatles. The financial crisis of the late 2000s affected 73% of Americans, and many extras, such as video games, were shed as a result. For Guitar Hero and Rock Band, sales continued to plummet. The constant releases of the two franchises proved to be the biggest misstep for developers, as most of the new releases came bundled with a new instrument peripheral, some bundles adding up to over $100 per game. In my Toys to Life video, I mentioned that one of the leading causes for the decline in that genre had to do with the constant purchasing of figurines to unlock new content. The music rhythm genre suffered from a similar issue, as the instruments required to play the games were not often easy to store. Together, Guitar Hero and Rock Band produced over 30 different games on a variety of platforms between 2005 and 2010, not just effectively flooding the market, but doing so in a way that made most consumers feel like it was being forced down their throats. On most of these releases, the controllers were not compatible between different gaming systems, different franchises, and in some cases, they weren't compatible with other games in their own respective series. The idea of purchasing the latest and greatest giant guitar-shaped piece of plastic suddenly became a turnoff to many of the genre's devoted followers, even before the effects of the recession could be felt. According to an article published by The Guardian in 2011, at one point in 2009, Neversoft, the developer of Guitar Hero at the time, was working on 3 separate titles in the series, prompting the studio's project director Brian Brain to tell a news site, "We lost that spark by trying to cater to everyone. We were in an arms race with our competitor, Rock Band 2, and in the end I felt like we sold a bit of our soul." Adding to the list of issues for these games was the next big rhythm game craze, which within the year was already on the rise. This new craze presented itself in the forms of dancing games, like Just Dance and Dance Central. These games did not require the purchasing of any additional peripherals outside of the Xbox Kinect, Wiimote, or PlayStation Move, in order to track the player's movement and allow them to dance along to the popular songs of the time. Games released for these peripherals were marketed with the undertone of exercise and getting active, as was the trend at the time, which contributed to the success of this genre. By the end of 2010, it seemed like the clock had run out for both Guitar Hero and Rock Band, as both series had been put on an indefinite hiatus by their respective companies, with no further plans to develop sequels or spin-offs. It was nearly 5 years before we saw these games again in the form of Guitar Hero Live and Rock Band 4. Unfortunately, by the time these games arrived on 8th gen hardware, they were met with lukewarm reception. Rock Band 4 was panned for excluding features from previous entries, such as multiplayer and practice mode, and Guitar Hero Live, while better received, had its fair share of problems as well. Very quickly, the hype around these games burned out. Harmonix did try once more with Rock Band in 2017, this time attempting to break into the virtual reality space in the Oculus Rift, but this title went largely unnoticed. It's sad to think what might have been had the developers behind these games been dealt a better hand. We could exist in a world where music rhythm games are just as big as shooters or RPGs. Who knows? Guitar Hero 360? The Nintendo 3D Rock Band? But alas, that is not the case. Today, the music rhythm genre lives on, with games like Just Dance still releasing titles annually, and new properties like the VR hit Beat Saber rearing their heads. Beat Saber, by the way, is an incredible game. It feels like a true spiritual successor to the Guitar Heroes and Rock Bands of yesterday, just mixed with a healthy little dose of Star Wars. In the gaming industry, trends rise and fall faster than they can be noticed half the time. But Guitar Hero and Rock Band were different. There isn't a gamer around who didn't pick up a peripheral at some point or another and jammed out like Van Halen. There is always hope, especially with a new generation of gaming consoles on the horizon, that these franchises will make a return, successfully recapturing that spark that it had ignited a decade and a half earlier. Who knows? Who knows?
Let's get a badge.
Lily, do you feel safe and or loved? Do you feel like I am safe with me? Do you love me? That's a yes.
From himself, here's Kieran to demonstrate. With a large sandwich I made specially to attack you with, I've made a combat roll.